Guide me among those whom thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what thou hast judged. Surely thou judgest, and none can judge against thee, and he whom thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art thou, O Lord, and exalted be thee above what they set up besides thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides thee, and I bear witness that Muhammad is thy servant and apostle. Amen.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. Join us for Donate and Sip 2. We are hosting an event to help raise funds for the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House Museum. The event will take place Saturday, July 9th, 2022. This non-alcoholic wine and sparkling tea tasting event is sponsored by Magnolia Crescent Non-Alcoholic Winery and will be held at the historic Honorable Elijah Muhammad House located at 4847 South Woodlawn Avenue in the rear garden. Bring a friend, come by, and celebrate this historic project with us on Saturday, July 9th, 2022 from 4 to 7 p.m. Central Time. To register for this historic event, click the link in the bio or simply go to eventbrite.com and search Donate and Sip. Capacity is limited. This is Sister Sajdah Muhammad. We are proud to announce that the Sajdah House commemorative Elijah coins are finally here. As we renovate and restore the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, we have recycled the old copper gutters and downspouts and created a 1-ounce 39mm coin made of 100% pure copper. Each coin is professionally graded and has its own barcode and registration number. This priceless heirloom, made from recycled copper from the messenger's home, is now available at sajdahhouse.com. Assalamu alaikum, family, and welcome to the Mo Today series on Black Muslim businesses. I'm so excited. We have a very, very special show today. We got a special week this week. We have our great sister Audrey Muhammad with Virtue Today magazine on today, and we're going to bring her up in a few. Then tomorrow night, we got the Mo Today series on manifestation with Brother Bedford Muhammad. Y'all know this is week 3 of that series, right? Week 1, we showed The Nation of Common Sense, a special movie screening sponsored by the NOI Archives and student minister Carlos Muhammad. And then last week, I gave us a little econ class on the comparative economics of the 70s versus today. And then tomorrow, we're going to have Brother Bedford on to just talk about what our state of mental economy is right now as we're moving into this interesting time in our economic history, which is really very similar to the economic time that existed in the 70s when the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, late 60s and 70s, when he developed the $75 million income economy. So don't tell me we can't do this, because we can definitely do it. So, all right, so give us a minute. I see my sister is on. I got a few more announcements for y'all, and we're going to be right back. We're going to dig right into it.
You belong to yourself. You're an independent people, created from the nation of free people.
Yes, sir.
You don't need to go nowhere but to yourself.
Yes,
So the challenge is an education that enlivens us to do business. Business is the activity of life itself. Every creature is born with the inherent ability to attract out of this material earth what it needs to perpetuate its species.
We're back, family, and you're tuned into the Mo Today series on Black Muslim businesses, and we're going to be talking to Sister Audrey Muhammad, who I've known now for a number of years. And when I first saw her creative work with Virtue Today magazine, I was blown away because I'm one of those persons that is all about the culture. I love our sisterhood. I believe in our sisterhood. And it was so exciting to me to see someone demonstrating and showing to the world in such a classy fashion our culture and our style. And these things that may not seem much to us today will mean a lot years to come when you start to look at the initial establishment of our culture. We also have the Modest Fashion Week this week with Sister Carmen Muhammad. She was a guest on last week. And all these things, this big week just kind of goes hand in hand. What I really love, I was actually blessed to be on the cover of Virtue Today. But what I love is that she gives that sister who's out here striving, who may not feel like she's noticed, an opportunity to be featured in a national magazine in a glossy, classy way that they probably just wouldn't get. They may not have a chance to get into Essence magazine. They may not have a chance to be on the cover of Black Enterprise or any of these other magazines that are out there, but you can get in a copy of Virtue Today. So Sister Akila is on her new cover. And let me show you this video that Sister Akila made before I bring on our sister.
Peace, everybody. It's Akila Nihanda, and I am on the cover of Virtue Magazine's Independence issue. And I'm going to reveal it. It's me. Yes, it's mine. So make sure you get your magazine immediately because we're going to make sure that this issue is super hot because it's super amazing. This is really about the fashion, and it says Akila Nihanda, a new vibe and birth for everyone. Pearls of wisdom, of kindness, insight into success. So many nice stories. Check it out. Bye.
I'm going to bring my sister in because what she's doing is absolutely amazing. Assalamu alaikum, Sister Audrey. I think we got you on mute.
Yes.
There we go.
Walaikum salam. Thank you, Sister Sajdah, for having me on the show. That video was so cute. Her daughter's response, screaming, and it reminded me of my daughter, you know, being in Virtue and being excited to get a copy. So thanks for sharing that.
What a blessing. You are doing so much great work for our culture. And you know, on this show, I like to highlight, I do this show for a few reasons. One, to highlight our great culture and to show people that we are investment worthy. You should do business with us. And we really are that new emerging market that everybody should learn more about. But also to make us aware of one another, because we're all off in our little corners, kind of just doing for self. But we got this massive, beautiful ecosystem that my goal is to uplift. And I offer business consulting services to our guests and whatever we can do to really push this culture to the next level, because it's going to be through things like what you're doing, what I'm doing, what other people are doing. that's going to take our culture to that next level. And so I want you to tell our audience, how did this all start? How did you come up with this idea?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum to everyone. And thank you once again, Sister Sajdah. So proud of you, everything that you're doing. And I just want to say, when I first read about you in Raising Black Millionaires by Sister Tia Muhammad, I was like, who is this sister? Sister Wendy, and wanted to reach out to you. And just like you said, I want to help people be aware of all the jewels that we have in the nation. So it was such an honor to have you on the cover. And really, that's how Virtue started. I love magazines. I grew up with Essence magazine, having my fitness magazines, everything. And then I thought about wanting to have something on my coffee table that I wouldn't be afraid to have my daughter pick up. Everyone that dressed a particular way, or, there's so many different things in magazines now may not reflect our culture. Mm-hmm. And I met a sister when I was teaching at a college in California who was in the first, and she said that there was a magazine. I was talking to her about my idea, and she said there was a magazine that she had started called Jewel. And I said, oh, I would love to see. And so she brought in a black and white photograph, copy of it, copy of it. And I was flipping through. It had a little fashion. It had how to eat to live. And the idea just grew from there. It started off with the only color pictures were the cover and the fashion in the center. Everything else was black and white, but it has come a long way. For those of you who have the first issues, you would see the difference from today. So that's kind of how it started. The idea to have a magazine that uplifts, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan told me, he said, this is a powerful tool to uplift the woman. I wanted to have how to eat to live, health, fashion, all those things that I love to see in other magazines. I wanted to have that in this magazine. And that's how it started.
I agree. It's so powerful for our culture. And it's interesting because I never knew that you kind of stood on the shoulders of of what had been done before. And that's so important. I'm all about preservation and us standing on the shoulders of our giants, and they went as far as they could. And it's important that we pick up that mantle, and keep going. So when we move forward, we're not alone. We have the spirit of those who came before us and did this type of thing. And I like the idea that you thought, I want a magazine that I wouldn't be afraid or ashamed to have my daughter to look at on the coffee table. And that is so important, Sister Audrey, because nowadays I look at things and I just say, man, I'm so glad I don't have a daughter, because the way that the world is presenting itself, it's actually scary. And it's so powerful that, I think that we need more tools so that our girls and our boys, our young people can say, here's some other options.
Exactly. And that's a cute story. I had just posted it earlier. Like I said, I grew up with Essence magazine, and my daughter started modeling in Virtue at the age of 3. So she would put on her garment and do her little pose and everything. So whenever it was printed, she would flip through, looking to see herself. We all want to see ourselves. So we had the honor of meeting Susan Taylor, the former editor of Essence magazine, at an event. And I was so excited, and I introduced my daughter to her. And I said, Hassana, this is Susan Taylor, Essence magazine, the editor.
Yeah.
And Hassana was like, Essence? I just know Essence magazine. I just know Virtue. And then Susan looked at me and she said, what's Virtue magazine? I said, oh, that's my magazine. And I gave her a copy. But it was such a sense of pride that my daughter is like, all I know is Virtue magazine. So she grew up with Virtue magazine. She grew up with rhymes of the time, Black nursery rhymes, pretty little black girl, smart and brave. She didn't grow up with Mary Had a Little Lamb. So it's important to anything that we see that's a void, to develop that, just as you have done. It was interesting. A couple weeks ago, my husband and I watched the Mo Today, the Manifestation series, where you were showing A Nation of Common Sense. And I said, do you see what she's doing? He said, yes, this is what we were talking about, that we needed some type of mastermind group or someone to help kind of show us this way, because business was one of those areas that we were not taught in. So I just want to thank you again for that.
Yeah, thank you. That's so important, because I know for me, as I was moving through the business world and navigating through the business world, and Allah was blessing me and working with me, but I wanted to share that. I want my people to see it. And I've always been literally obsessed and fascinated with what the Messenger did in business. And so that's why I gravitated to like Virtue Magazine. I'm like, here's another aspect. It's publishing. And the way that you put the graphics, and you're right, it has come a long way. Because now when I see it, I was looking at them all on my coffee table, and I have some others, and I was like, man, I thought about this, Sister Audrey, and I said, we need, how Essence and Ebony, they have a hardbound copy of all the magazines. We need that for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. So if you had a hardbound volume of all of your magazines, and it came in a nice, beautiful box, that's something we could help you sell.
Yes, ma'am.
At the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House, because again, it's promoting our culture.
That's right. That's right. And really, anytime people buy a hard copy of Virtue, you're really buying a piece of history. And there was a sister before me, Sister, I can't remember her name, Righteous Living. She had the magazine, of course, Mother Tynetta Muhammad, may Allah be pleased. All of those, I used to have copies. I don't know where they are now, but each magazine is a piece of history, because the articles I put in there were always timeless. Something that if you picked up one of the back issues, the classic issues, you could learn something. Someone else could learn something today. So they're not about, okay, this is happening now, but Eating to Live, a fitness article, a business article, a marketing article. We've had Brother Bedford in Virtue before. So you're right. If it was in a book form, and that's something, I'm going to jot that idea down.
Yes, ma'am.
That's an excellent idea, because you're looking at history, and that's the power of media. Also, that's the power of print. And when I think about the Final Call and what the Messenger put together, because if you're a nation, you do need to have your own means of communication. Recently, over the weekend, we went on a tour in Wilmington, North Carolina, and how Wilmington had a growing, affluent Black community, and they had their own newspaper. And one of the first things they did was bomb the newspaper, because that was the way Black people communicated. So it is so important for us to have our means of preserving our history and passing it on.
And you're right. And it's time for us to own and monetize and control our own story. And I believe that you're contributing to that, because there's so much propaganda out there. There's so many lies. People have in their head what a Muslim woman looks like, but they have no idea, our versatility, our talent, and just what we contribute to society. And you're actually doing that. And I know it hasn't been easy. And I know that there are people watching who are pioneers in an industry that they're interested in, because not only are you a pioneer in that industry, you're a vanguard, because you're constantly moving forward and out front, and you've been consistent. And you and I have that in common, of just consistency, just putting one foot in front of the other and just keep going. regardless of what anybody thinks and what anybody says. You're going to stumble, you're going to make some mistakes, you're going to have some good partnerships and bad partnerships, and all these things happen, but you just keep going. And, you know, with that said, what advice would you have for somebody who is a vanguard in their particular industry?
Yes, ma'am. Excellent question. Really, to do your research, to really understand the business. I knew how to write. I have a background in, my degree is in English. So I have a background in technical writing, editing. I was a high school English teacher for 12 years. And then I started teaching composition at the college level. But there was three things I was always interested in: business, journalism, as well as teaching. I chose teaching. But I started reading about magazines, but I didn't understand the business part of it, because I just was focused on, okay, let me get this article. Ooh, this is going to be a good article. I'll put this in there and let me print it. And I'm printing it myself. I'm paying for it myself, which is like another mortgage payment. But then my family supported me. And then, of course, if it wasn't for my brother Vincent in Savannah, Georgia, I give him a shout out, I wouldn't have sold any. So understanding, and this came later, I worked with a brother from Black Women Today magazine, understanding the business side of it. You need to get advertisement. That is how businesses, the publications make their money, whether it's newspapers, whether it's magazine. We have to understand the business side of that, and we have to spread our wings. I put myself in a box. Oh, I'm just a teacher. I'm just a writer. No, now I see myself, I am an educator and a businesswoman. And it costs to print, and it costs you for, so understanding that whatever industry you're going into, find a mentor, find some, pay for courses or whatever. Understand the business side of it so that you don't make the mistakes that I made, where I just thought I could just put it out there and people would just get it. I had partnered with someone to get the magazine in all these different small stores, and I paid thousands and thousands of dollars. And I remember a brother saying, "Oh, I saw your magazine in like a corner store gas station or something like that, next to Big Thighs XL." And I was like, okay. And and I was like, really, that wasn't the place for my magazine, because brothers going into there, which one are they going to choose? But I just remember getting that first check back after sending thousands of magazines out and having them distributed. And I opened this envelope and it had a $200 check in it. And I was shaking the envelope like, wait, is that right? It? That's all I made? They were like, they were like, those were the copies that were sold. So that was a lesson for me. It's like, before you just kind of jump into, oh, I'm going to just make it, put it out there, understanding the business side of it. So I had to reel it in a little bit, and purposely made Virtue available during, Savior's Day and Holy Day. Looking at, where is your audience? Yeah, so that's another thing. Where is your audience? If your audience is more on Instagram, is your audience more on Facebook? Is your audience at this type of conference? All of those things, learning as a businesswoman, I realize now. So that advice, understand the business, know what your audience is, and what are some things you can do to kind of capitalize on that.
Mm-hmm. No, I understand exactly what you mean. I've made those mistakes myself, where you pay to have something distributed. And I think sometimes the mistake that we make, especially when we have products that promote our spiritual development, our nation, we think that everybody's going to fall in love with it just like we do. We think we don't have to advertise. We think we don't have to do anything. I can honestly say that I learned that lesson even up to recently with the home of the messenger. And I thought that, you know, all I got to do is put it out there. Like, of course, people want coins made of copper from the Lamb of God's house. And of course, people want to support the home of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. But I found people just staring at me like, okay, good job. So you learn that you have to work it, even if it's a good product or a good service, you still have to work it. And I found that the most sustainable types of businesses and projects are those that you really work and you learn from your mistakes.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. Absolutely. So just continuing to branch out and not limit yourself. And that's something that I'm learning, that virtue is more than a magazine. It's a brand. It's a lifestyle, you know, so the virtuous lifestyle means that we're eating well, we're dressing well. What we watch is now positive, you know, is wonderful any day of the week. You think about this, and all this has come out of the pandemic. When we had your launch party for your magazine, we had it virtually because we couldn't do it physically. And it was such a wonderful success. I was like, and you encouraged it, you know, why don't you do this again? And Virtue Live became this monthly show. And now almost any day of the week, you can turn on YouTube and find a Muslim show. You can find a life-giving show with the teachings. And something that stands out that the minister said at the Holy Day of Atonement in 2011, and he was talking about the media. And he said, if you don't like the images that you see in the media, change it. You know, and that always stuck with me, that we do have, and sometimes we forget our own power. We have the power to change the narrative. We have the power to change the images that we see. And that's something that, again, what we see on YouTube, if we don't like what we have, start our own show.
You know, you brought up a good point that I wonder if people think about, that any day of the week, any time, you can turn on YouTube or go on social media and find a show that represents you.
That's right.
You know, and especially for those of us as Muslims, we can find ourselves on television and on media. And I think that's the first time in history. Not only is there just one outlet, there are hundreds of outlets. It really speaks to the diversity of our nation. There are some shows that you're going to gravitate more towards than others. There are going to be some that are more popular than others. But the beautiful thing is that we now have numerous outlets to express ourselves in the media. This is groundbreaking. This has never happened in history.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And that just shows that we're growing as a nation. That we're not limited to just one publication. You know, you got Rise Magazine, you have other podcasts that are showing up, and we're all, you know, being on different shows. I've seen you on different shows. I've been on different shows. And it just feels good that we're a part of a nation. And I hope that we can continue to appreciate that, because I view it as, there is no competition. You know, I'm just trying to be the best me. You know, something that I wrote in my Get Fit to Live book a couple years ago, I was like, be your best you. Because if every day you're waking up, how can I get better? You don't have time to worry about anyone else. No. There is no competition, but you be better than you were yesterday.
And you know, that competition and worrying about what other people are doing, and a lot of that you see among females in the broader community, you know, you are also helping to blur that line as well with what you do in Virtue, because we are diverse. And it is so unproductive when we're competitive towards one another or we look down. It's so much more productive to uplift one another. You
That's right.
so many more blessings and there's so much more love when we support one another. We walking along in this journey and I see my sisters doing something. I'm like, come on, let's do it. And I might, my goal is always to try to be an asset. And I appreciate that about you as well in terms of highlighting the sisters, people who never would have seen the inside of an Essence magazine or an Ebony magazine or even any of the magazines from the 90s, Source or anything like that. They just would not be on any of these shows. But now that intelligence can be displayed and it can be seen. We talked before, I think on one of your shows about our modesty or our virtue being weaponized. And I know I've always kind of had this beef with pop culture because, and no offense against my sisters, Rihanna or anybody like that, who became entertainers and then introduced a product and became billionaires and millionaires. But every time for many years that Black women were heralded in business, they were in the entertainment sector or there were people who came from entertainment to that. And then now there's this recent thing where it's almost like the career path is through the strip club. And it's not like they're not saying, look, this person started to become a stripper and now they're turned their life around. It's almost like they're saying, no, this is the route you have to take. And so it's offensive to me because, Sister Audrey, I've worked all these years and I didn't get anything on my back or on my knees. It came from me prostrating on my forehead, and just begging and petitioning Allah. And so when I saw your magazine, it's like it touched my soul and comforted my soul because I have been resisting going down certain paths and I say resisting it, not meaning that I was going to do it, but resisting it because I felt ignored. I didn't feel like I mattered because as a businesswoman for many, many years, if you were a Black woman in business, if you didn't come out a certain way, no one saw you. And so it was not even recognized, I think, even among us as Black people, as family, as friends. It was always like, oh, that person's struggling. Instead of looking at us trying to build up our business, they looked at us as, we're struggling, you need some help. So then here come the predators. And so, your magazine is more than just, I say, more than just a magazine. It is a lifestyle, but it is it's like medicine for the soul. For those of us who are out here doing everything we can to try to do it the right way.
That's right. That's right. And I think it also, there is a new emergence coming up in terms of Black women in entrepreneurship, that's being celebrated more. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Courtney Adelaide. She Main Choice. I attended her online conference, and it was just so refreshing to see all these sisters that were doing very well and supporting one another. It's almost like when you buy your first car, a Honda or whatever, and you never noticed Hondas before, and now you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
So now I'm seeing all these successful women also. And Earn Your Leisure, they were talking about how so many people came out to one of their events. It wasn't a rap concert. It wasn't a hip hop conference. It was two brothers.
Yeah. Financial literacy, right?
Financial literacy. It was two brothers on the stage talking, interviewing someone, and you had all thousands, hundreds of people in the audience wanting to learn. So I think that is becoming something more acceptable. And just as you mentioned, with Sister Akila, who we're honored to have on the cover. And I told her, I said, I want a picture of your daughter, you and your daughter, because I want her to be able to see from years from now. And you'll get your copy to see for her to open up. And when she saw it, she pointed to it. There's another video of her pointing to herself, the nanny and mommy, so she was so happy to see herself. But the financial literacy, like you said, is something also that these brothers are changing the narrative. And that's what I'm saying, that we have the power to change the narrative. There's certain things that you will not see me writing about, no baby mamas, no drama, because that is not the language that we use for queens.
That's right.
We're mothers. Okay, we're mothers of civilization, but that's another baby, inshallah, we'll talk about.
No, we are. We're queens. We're gods. So it's certain language that should not be a part of our vernacular. We know that language is what begins our actions. Everything's thought starts with a thought and language, and so that's so important. And so again, giving that next generation, you are actually practicing intergenerational wealth transfer with your magazine as well. And I remember you told me years ago that you was just a teacher. And it was something you said, it was a couple of just thises and that. And I'm like, man, sis, no way. You got to see yourself. And through your steadfastness, I've been able to witness and be a part of your growth. Anytime you ask me to participate, support, take out an ad, I'm right there. I don't even read the rest of your email. When you just say this is coming out and here's an ad, I just reply back and say, okay, because that's how much I want to support. And that's how much I trust my sister with my product or service that I'm going to put in her magazine. And then sometimes you'll say, well, did you da da da? And I said, oh, let me go back and read it. Because my answer is just yes. Would you? Yes. Because why wouldn't we? And I think we just have to learn to be that way with one another. Oh, my sister called. Oh, yes. And there's other people in the nation that I'm like that with. If they call, an ad, you want to be on the show? Yes, yes, and yes. Just let me know where I need to be and what I need to do. And you have my full and complete support. And I continue to say that to you. I've felt that way since I met you. And still, I believe in what you're doing. I'm honored to be able to be a part of it, to be a part of history. I was like, I want to go down with that history. So what's next for Virtue? What's next?
So what's next for Virtue? I want to continue to develop Virtue merch. I'm wearing I am more valuable than silver and gold t-shirt. I said trying to represent, just as you have your Elijah He Lives merchandise. So really, again, understanding business. We want to continue having Virtue Live, continue developing the merchandise, continue developing the digital version of Virtue. So now people can get Sister Akila in the print copy. Make sure there's limited copies for print. So those are out there who like that paper copy, go ahead and order now so that you can be in that number, because when they're gone, they're gone.
Where do they go? What's the website? I'll do it while you're talking.
VirtueTodayMag.com. VirtueTodayMag.com if they want an issue. Also, we're going to continue with, as I said, the show, expanding the digital aspect of it. And I always try to do a little bit more. Those who promote and advertise in Virtue, not just having the print version or the digital version, but of course I'm going to give a shout out on social media. So because the whole purpose of the advertisement is trying to get as many eyes on it as possible, just like I did with the Elijah coin. I didn't have to do a little video saying, own your history, but I wanted to, because if we don't promote one another, who else will? We're not going to see it in the New York Times or the Washington Post, and they're not going to give us a nice positive plug. So why not go that extra yard for our brothers and sisters? And that's always been my spirit, because I want to make sure that just as I would want my business promoted or highlighted or whatever, you know, I always try to do that. Even with anything that I wear, I'm wearing some jewelry from Sister Malika Divine, who has these beautiful earrings, the tourmaline ring.
Oh, that's nice.
That keeps negativity. So I just love things like that. Like you said, every action is preceded by a thought. And I love things that remind me to think positive, you know. So in spite of everything else, and that's why the magazine, the articles in the magazine inspire you to think positive. There's a really good article in this one with a pioneer from New York. And she talked about how there were several mosques in New York, and you're talking about 1,500 MGT. And I said, how did you all get so many sisters out? And she talked about, and it's the interview is in this issue, but she talked about how to win friends and influence people, which we know elements of that in the proper way of handling people that we utilize in the nation. And she really went into that and how they study that. A brother went to one of the workshops from what's his name, Carnegie, and brought that back to the nation. So there's so much, like I said, there's so much rich history in every single article. You're really going to enjoy that. So I want to continue having, this was my first pioneer corner. So I want to expand that, having pioneers, having them on the show, because there's so much history that we can learn from them, and just continue promoting and highlighting positive images of our brothers and sisters. That's what's next for Virtue.
Yeah. And nowadays, Sister Audrey, people are in an information overload, and you'd be surprised at how much people don't know. And you mentioned New York and 15 mosques and 1,500 sisters, and a lot of people don't even connect that to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
That's right.
Being the minister in New York, and the great impact that he made in the city of New York, to the point where to this day, in New York, Islam is very prominent. And a lot of that is because of his work here. Quick story, I was selling real estate in the 90s in Chicago. And at that time, you would go door to door to get like your listings, because there was no network. That was MLS marketing and stuff like that came about like in the late 90s and maybe early 2000s, when we all got on our email lists and stuff like that. But before that, you had to go out and actually ask somebody to list your home. And that wasn't that long ago. But on the South Side, Sister Audrey, in South Shore and Chatham and Jackson Park, when I would go into those homes, I would tell you 1 in 3 homes had a picture of Master Fard Muhammad and or the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, sometimes Malcolm X, sometimes Martin Luther King, but probably 1 in 3 homes in that area. And when I fast forward to today and I think about that, I think about the impact of our great teachings way back. Even though when you knocked on that door, the person didn't come to the door and look like maybe they should look. But when they would let me in and I'm sitting down and presenting how much I can get them for their house sale, I'm looking around and I see Master Fard Muhammad.
Wow.
And I see the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and I'm sitting in front of a person that stereotypically is not somebody I would expect to have that on their wall. So we don't know who we're influencing.
That's right.
And so I just want to congratulate you. I want you to just continue to keep going. If I see Virtue not coming out, I'm going to push you. I'm going to get on the plane and come over there and be like, outside. We got to have a conversation. What's going on?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You know, and like I said, anytime you need me, I'm here. I will do better at reading your emails. I just normally just reply yes. You could be asking me to turn backflips all the way to your house. without even reading, but sis, I trust you, I love you, and I thank you for your support.
Yes, ma'am. Love you too. And I'm, again, so proud of you. And we'll continue to support the Elijah House and look forward to seeing you at the fashion show, inshallah. And just
when are you getting here?
I'll be there Friday.
Oh, Friday. Okay. So I'll be at the show, inshallah, on Saturday.
Okay.
So I'll see you. So, all right. Well, peace and blessings. Any announcements, anything you want? Let me put your website back up, sis. I know we want people to go and get this new edition, right?
Yes, definitely. You can get a digital copy or a print copy. And one last thing, Mothers of Civilization Day. So that was a new national day that Virtue Magazine started. And it's a day to honor the original woman and Black, brown, and it coincides with the day that the oldest bones were found of a Black woman. They call it Lucy. The bones Lucy. But it was November 24th in Ethiopia where two archaeologists found the oldest bone. So I wanted, being an educator, I wanted it to be connected with a historical point so that when people look it up, they can see, oh, wow, because we only get $400 worth of our $1 million history. So again, $400 worth of our $1 million history, meaning that we learned about slavery, being on the slave ship, the ghetto, being on the plantation in the ghetto, but we have $1 million history. Because if we go to the bank and someone says, oh, my father left me $1 million. Oh, we can only give you 400. Wait a minute. That's a lot of money missing. Okay. That's a lot of years missing. So Mothers of Civilization Day, we're building it up just like Savior's Day, that you can honor a mother, you can honor someone online on the mothersofcivilization.org website, because we're so into technology. Imagine your grandchild or your niece or nephew Googling your name and it shows up online in a positive way. So also we want people to check out support Mothers of Civilization Day, honor the sisters in your family, and check out mothersofcivilization.org.
Oh, that's beautiful. Mothersofcivilization.org. That's where you want us to go.
Yes.
All right. So you have been enriched by my sister, Sister Audrey Muhammad. Come out this weekend to Modest Fashion Week. We're going to be there. Come and see some bad, I ain't going to curse, fashions. An alternative way to just dress and be fly, but still be presentable and loving and stylish, Just because you're modest doesn't mean that you're not stylish. So thank you, Sister Audrey. Thank you to your daughter, our Virtue Magazine baby.
Yes.
Virtue, yes. She's a Virtue Mag Today baby.
Yes, she definitely is. And she does
chronological story on her.
Yes, she does she did the modeling. Now she is the assistant editor with nothing happens without her okay in graphic design and everything. So she's phenomenal.
She's an amazing graphic designer, because I know I gave her a picture and it had all this stuff in the background and she just did something to it. And okay, that works. All right. Peace and blessings, sis. And may Allah bless you. And I'll see you, inshallah, this week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Peace and blessings, everyone. Thank you.
You've been tuned into the Mo Today series on Black Muslim businesses. Listen, this was such an exciting interview. Thank you, Brother Vincent. Thank you for your help, support. Make sure you go to mothersofcivilization.org. Make sure you guys go to virtuemag.org. You see scrolling across the bottom, it's instructions when you come on here to this show. Okay, you have assignments and homework. I want to see y'all tomorrow at manifestation class with myself and Brother Bedford. That's 7 p.m. Central Time. Go to manifestationclass.com. to download your free copy of The Accomplishments of the Muslims. And make sure you support the former home of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I should say the completion of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad House. Go to sajdahhousedonations.com. So with all that, you all support somebody today, support a Black business, show somebody that you appreciate them trying to make a difference.